How's it going? Today, we're going to talk about something a little bit different than our usual spiel. It's going to be a reaction video to another piece of content made by a creator called STOKERMATIC. I came across this video and I had some point of contentions that I'd like to express because I think the points he made in that video are potentially harmful to the community and might dissuade people from, embracing that use of decisive action, small unit tactics, and body armor. He frames his entire argument around the fact that it's going to be the people versus a conventional force like the U.S. Army. However, we know that from previous empires falling and current conflicts going on in the world today, that it's going to be far more complex than just one civilian population versus one conventional force. More likely, we're going to see a lot of unconventional versus unconventional forces, peers versus peers, and then maybe some conventional versus some conventional. However, you got to think of it, it's not going to be like one big happening. It's more going to look like a slow bleeding decline. And that's why I kind of referenced the Roman Empire there. A slow decline into an overall, state failure. And the people are going to be divided among social, political, economic, and even ethnic lines. And on top of that, you're going to have outside conventional forces and outside unconventional forces trying to exert pressure onto certain regions in the United States when that happens. Now, this might not be something that we see in our lifetime, but we can definitely expect to see this in our grandchildren's lifetime. However, I'd rather it be us than them, but it's not something that you can just make happen. It's just kind of, we see the writing on the wall, and we just have to best prepare for our families that we can. But in his video, he goes on to say, most people are running around like it's Call of Duty / G.I. Joe, and they got the body armor, they're all dripped out, and that's wrong because you should only or mainly be practicing the use of covert kit and gray man-like appearance during SHTF, because wearing things like camouflage makes you a target. Now, it really shows that he's from that other side of the United States, because down here in the southeast, if you walk into a gas station wearing Marpat or M81 Woodland bottoms and a Mossy Oak top, no one's going to look at you sideways, and more importantly, no one's going to care or even probably remember that you walked in that store. Even like when I went to high school here locally, guys would wear camouflage all the time or wear BDU jackets instead of a flannel during winter. It's just commonplace around here, especially during hunting season. So to say that since you're donning or using camouflage, that's going to automatically, it's not going to automatically make you a target, because there's so many people that would fit that category. They're going to have to do a lot, if you say, oh, somebody came through here wearing camouflage, and it's like, yeah, who? One of, 30 people? Well, he was wearing a greenish camouflage. Okay, well, you narrowed it down to 15 people. Well, we still got a little ways to go. Considering where I live, it would take a lot more detective work to find out who you're talking about just based on the use of camouflage. Furthermore, he kind of goes into talking about the Taliban, the Viet Cong, even though we've already kind of dismissed that it's not going to be, just preppers or people fighting against a conventional force. He went on to say that, they blended in with the civilian population, and that's how, they gave the U.S. such a hard time, and they didn't, use camouflage. Well, the Viet Cong certainly did use camouflage. In many instances, they used things like fishing nets and like wire wrapping to attach vegetation / scrim to, so that they could hide from, U.S. observational planes and observational posts. So look, we already cleared that one out of the air too. And he says that, your use of all this body armor and kit and organizational tactics is making you a threat. Well, yes and no. You kind of got to look at putting it in that frame of that it's going to be like a long drawn out period. The conflict will like slowly escalate over that period of time, and people will become more and more accustomed to the use of and seeing violence. So look at modern Africa today. Warlords, guerrillas, governments, whoops, dropped my paper, other unconventional forces, they can all walk down a village street with chest rigs and AKs, locked and loaded, ready to go, and no one bats an eye at them because it's been normalized to them. So we can't always, use our Western modern perception of what we think is acceptable as what will be common knowledge or acceptable in the future. It just doesn't work that way. But another issue with trying to, only use covert or gray man actions is that if people think you're a soft target, especially organized crime, they're definitely going to be gunning for you. Organized criminals love people that don't look like they're a threat and don't seem like a threat. And some people might retort that, well, if they F around, they're going to find out. I said, well, yeah, it's gonna really suck for you when you get, your door blown off at 3 a.m. and your children get slaughtered. It's gonna be real fun. You could win that gunfight or battle, presumably, but at what cost to you? And it's also another thing about trying to blend in with the civilian population, especially when you're moving through rural environments. You're kind of just accounting for people caring about harming the civilian population or harming other civilians, because like I said, it might be peer-to-peer threat or unconventional versus unconventional threat. So Billy Bob Joe hasn't had anything to eat in one day and his family's completely out of food and they're running low on water and he's sleep deprived because he has a newborn child. He might just put a bullet in you, even if you're just dressed like a normal hiker, or even if you were dressed in full body armor. But that full body armor, one, could not only save your life, but if you look like a really hard target to kill, and especially if there's, you've got the numbers of people that look really tough, it might make him reconsider taking a pot shot at you for your food. He might just wait till the next sorry sucker walks down that trail and decides to attack them instead. While I think his estimation of SHTF is fairly goofy, silly, and one-dimensional, I think some good takeaways from this conversation can be that civilians should definitely stay on the path of using their LBE, getting used to donning body armor and moving around under load while maintaining their focus on small unit tactics. Because when you get a free weekend with your boys or your organization and you're trying to accomplish some objectives, it's very good for you to focus down on learning these things and getting used to them. They take time to develop, and you really don't want to wait till it's close to time to use them to start learning. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for you. You have a good one.